story that we talked about yesterday is RCMP Commissioner and whether there was interference from Brenda Lucki to the investigation of what was the most horrific mass murder in Canadian history in the April 2020 mass murder of 22 people in Nova Scotia, and that was very devastating. It was a 13-hour rampage of killing where it killed 22 people and injured 2 people and killed 2 dogs. If you've missed the story on that, there is a Y Media special report. Please look it up on our social media, whether on Facebook at Y Media or YouTube on Y Media. Now, the story was that Trudeau's office and Public Safety Minister at the time, Bill Blair, has been accused of interfering in the RCMP operation after the mass shooting. We're talking about just days after, where Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister, wanted to unveil his gun legislation and gun ban. And essentially what they had done is Brenda Lucki, who's the RCMP commissioner, she was accused of interfering by contacting the RCMP when they were doing their investigation, saying, let me know the ammunition, the rifles, the weapons that were used in that mass shooting, because we want to use those for the announcement. She says this was handwritten by Staff Sergeant who the request was made. They decided not to actually give her the information because they said that most of the weapons came from the United States. If we're to reveal what the weapons are, it would interfere with our investigation to understand how it got across the border illegally and how the perpetrator was able to obtain all these weapons. So they didn't want to release it. We're talking about just days after the mass shooting when the entire country was mourning. Please take a look. I want to go to Conservative interim leader Candice Bergen on her message on believing the RCMP on this one factor. And we're going to go to Bill Blair as well, who was at the time the public safety minister, because it has been accused that he and the Prime Minister's office specifically asked the RCMP commissioner to do that bidding for them. Take a look.
I want to tell everyone that Conservatives believe Superintendent Darren Campbell, when he says that Brenda Lucki, the commissioner, pressured the RCMP, and the reason she did it was because she had made a commitment, or she had been pressured by the Prime Minister's office and or the Public Safety Minister's office. We believe Superintendent Campbell. This is disgusting to know that the Prime Minister and his office would use the death of Canadians for his own political gain, but unfortunately we have seen it before. We believe very strongly the Prime Minister, his office, and the Minister of Public Safety's office, and the Minister of Public Safety, the former minister, have to be held accountable. We will make sure that that happens. Now, right now, they are denying wrongdoing. This is a pattern. This is what this Prime Minister does. You will recall with SNC-Lavalin, the Globe broke the story, and the Prime Minister looked in the camera and said, I did not pressure the Attorney General, Jody Wilson-Raybould. We know now that was not true. So when the Minister of Public Safety looks in the camera and says, I did not pressure the Commissioner, it's very, very difficult to believe that. So we're going to hold them accountable and get to the bottom of what happened.
How are you going to do that? Are you thinking about a summer committee?
We believe there needs to be a full investigation. If the Minister and the Prime Minister have nothing to hide, they'll hide nothing. They will be completely transparent, not be hiding documents, not be hiding emails, or hiding behind cabinet confidence.
But the Commissioner of the RCMP is no shrinking violet. No Commissioner of the RCMP has ever been a pushover. So surely, is she not acting in her own actions? Surely
it would appear from what the Superintendent said, surely she wasn't. So she'll have to answer for that. But at the end of the day, it's the Prime Minister and the Minister of Public Safety. The Prime Minister has a habit of doing this, using people, using his influence for his own political gain and interfering in criminal investigations, and in this case, an investigation into the biggest mass killing in Canadian history. One more question, then I've got
What do you think it says about the culture of this government? Brenda Lucki is saying she wasn't under any specific direction, but the note suggested, at minimum, she felt that she was. So there was a sense that she had a political responsibility, whether or not PM told her, Blair told her. She had that ticking around in her head. What do you make of that?
It's what we've seen previously happen in this government. And we see the Prime Minister continually use challenges that Canadians are facing, big challenges in this country, whether it was the convoy and the protesters and vaccines, to divide, wedge, and stigmatize Canadians, whether it was SNC-Lavalin, whether it's many of his own failings, he uses it and tries to turn it on Canadians. And I think that this is just a pattern that we've seen. And he denies, and then he blames. Deny, deflect, and blame. So this is one more question, Ian, and then that's all.
How should this be interference? She had a conversation with her subordinates, and that's her job as the commissioner, but there was no pressure brought to bear and no interference with the operational decisions of the RCMP.
Did your office ask her for any information on the types of firearms used?
As the Minister of Public Safety, I was routinely briefed by the commissioner and her staff on the ongoing events in Nova Scotia. And so I was being frequently kept up to date. That's part of my responsibility as the minister, or was my responsibility as the Minister of Public Safety.
We have two officers making allegations that there was political interference here. What do you say to what the officers are saying, and just where, in your mind, where did the problem?
All I can say, first of all, I don't know either officer. I've never had a conversation with them, but there was no political interference, and I was sure of that.
Did the government ask the RCMP to give you the names of the weapons that were used so you could use it in your gun announcement?
No, and I'll help you recall that when we made the announcement, and I spoke to the issue, and I was asked very specifically by members of the press about the weapons, and I made it very clear that that was an operational issue, that and that information should only come from the RCMP and not from us.
Now, the opposition's not satisfied with the blanket denial. They're saying there's still questions. We have conflicting testimony from the handwritten notes to what they're hearing from the government. They want more answers. Would you be happy with some sort of committee investigation or something to take part in order to get more answers?
First of all, I have absolute respect for Parliament and the choices it makes and how it determines to deal with these issues. But I am very, very comfortable that there was no interference in this case. I've made that statement in the House. The Commissioner has also made that statement confirming that there was no interference in this case, and so that's the information we've provided.
Have you spoken with the Commissioner?
No, I haven't. I'm sorry, Rafi?
Are statements good enough when we're talking about the potential interference of a police commissioner and information flow?
No. There was a suggestion by somebody I'd never spoken to, but I'm just advising you, and I'm advising Canadians through you, that there was no interference in this case. There was no pressure placed upon the RCMP, and no interference with their operational decisions. This is actually an important line between government and the operations of the police commissioner and the RCMP. It's a line that has always been respected. Both the commissioner and I respected that important delineation of responsibilities. When I was public safety minister, the commissioner had a responsibility to account for the actions of her service to the ministry. But at the same time, at no point in time could there ever be any interference in an ongoing investigation, and that includes the communications with respect to that investigation.
There you have it from Bill Blair. He was a public safety minister at the time, and he's saying at no circumstances did he ask the commissioner to do that. And then of course now you saw the Conservative leader, Candice Bergen, saying that there should be an investigation into what happened, because you're not supposed to. As politicians, you're not supposed to interfere with police work. Those are two separate things. If you do, then that is corruption. And this is what's to be decided now. The RCMP speaking very loudly against this. Now, former RCMP commissioner is now defending the Mounties when it comes to what they're saying that the commissioner had requested them to do. The former commissioner is Bob Paulson, who has now retired, but he's saying that he is defending the integrity of Superintendent Darren Campbell, who alleged that it was the commissioner who asked him for the weapons, and essentially he pushed back saying no, and saying that the commissioner was upset with him because he wouldn't provide the details because it was an ongoing investigation. And she said that the Liberal government essentially needs it for their gun control agenda. So as this unfolds, we're definitely going to bring you all the details. This is a big story. This could be the next scandal that we're going to deal with when it comes to Parliament Hill and what's happening in Ottawa.